3 months ago, I uploaded a video on Glimesh. My hope, and the hopes of others, was that this would be the last video that I would have to make on them. A video that would put them back on track. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Over the past several months, more and more people have been coming to me with their input and issues surrounding Glimesh. More problems have been making their way to me. Originally, I had the hope that Glimesh would outshine the rest of the competition. But at this moment in time, it looks like they're just as dead and diluted as all the others. After all of my initial interviews with all the ex-staff, ex-users, current staff, and current users that were willing to speak, I wrote out a set of questions to be presented to Clone and Paco. Not long later, those interviews took place. Paco's was in the form of a Discord message, and Clone's was in a private VC. Ultimately, I found that both of their answers to be less than truthful, and the events that followed would only cement my findings. Since the posting of my video, Paco has remained silent, which was a wise move, I suppose. Certainly better than telling the truth and making yourself look bad. Yet Clone did not remain silent. He instead decided that on Twitter and in Discord that he would say nothing less than horseshit. He was on damage control. He actively would tell users that there was no problems and that these issues were already several months into discussion. Yet it was quite clear that this was not the case. The only time that he spoke to his ex-staff on the issues about Paco was many months back. Instead of having an actual conversation with them on it, he ran away, claiming that they cornered him into the conversation that he agreed to. And to top it all off, you, Clone, had the gall to complain about not liking being called a liar. Maybe, just maybe, if you had any integrity, any sense of responsibility for your massive mistakes, this would not have happened. If you don't like being called a liar, then don't lie. It's that simple. There was no fix, there was no discussion, just the actions of a man who would enable poor behavior on his end and on the end of Glimesh's head of staff, and not heed the cries of help from his staff team and the user base. To end this specific topic, let's move on to something that's a little nicer. One of the heads over at Glimesh has been attempting to look into all these issues and to find solutions where they can. Personally, I don't think anything is going to come of it. I think Glimesh is as good as dead at this point. But hey, hopefully I am wrong, and they managed to fix the hole that Clone has dug. Moving on from this, let's start to discuss other reasons as to why Glimesh is in an active dash to oblivion. So let's start talking about the user base, advertising, appeasement, and development. First off, the entire user base of Glimesh has died off since launch. You used to have a bunch of people streaming and watching content. Where are all of them now? You're lucky to even find a few streams up on Glimesh right now, which for the most part, they're just restreams. And even if you wander into a live channel, they're virtually no views to speak of. Nothing. They're streaming there over to nobody. All this is due to a lack of advertising, incentive, development, and outright appealing to the minority of users instead of the majority. Let's get into advertising. As far as most people can see, there is no advertising. You're not actively trying to recruit new streamers or viewers. It's just stale. And as far as most people can see, the only people that know about Glimesh are the original users. You need to advertise to gain users. But instead, it was just left to grow on its own. Now the site and Discord is ghost town. They're virtually the same exact people speak every single day. And literally, just today, they're trying to basically farm Twitter follows and new users trying to make accounts over on Glimesh with money. Giveaways. $50 giveaways. That's not good advertising. You kidding me? The only thing that you're gonna gain from that is either people making alternate accounts or people only going there to get the $50 and then fucking bailing. That's not incentive to stay. That's incentive to sign up, and that's it. Nothing else. Let's get into development. As far as most people can see, development is coming along slowly, and that is completely understandable. When you have such a small team, this isn't actually an issue. The big issue is the lack of direction, which leads me into my next point. You appease the hell out of the minority user base instead of the majority. Let's take the pronoun edition, for example. You added in pronouns after a deranged lunatic came into Glimesh demanding that they be added. And after they left, you caved into their outrageous demands. Instead of putting all or most of your effort into what your user base wanted, you instead put effort into something that a few people wanted. That ultimately could have been put in at a later date, which would have been completely acceptable. You have actively put more effort into putting useless additions to the site instead of focusing all or most of your energy on what clearly matters. This site sure as hell isn't built by the community for the community, especially since you don't bother taking in any suggestions and input from your actual community. Those very actions heavily influence the majority of your user base to leave. Now personally, I could sit here all damn day leaking out information and screenshots that people have shown me. And I sure as hell want to, because it's outright disgusting what Clone and Paco have been doing and enabling. Instead, since I have integrity and won't be doing this, if my promises from the previous video still applies. If you want to do your own research to find out what I've been hinting at and talking about, then do it. Seriously, do it. Go out there, look at this shit. Most of it's very public. And if you're a user or staff member that sent me information and you want it public, then post it out there. Because quite frankly, the still active user base on Glimesh deserve to see and understand the sheer utter bullshit that you and others had to deal with. This is my final posting on Glimesh. This site is as dead to me as Lunar and Brime. Glimesh is a shadow of its former self, and I doubt that it'll ever take off due to the actions of Clone and Paco.